Oh, Sydney, not my favourite place. It's busy. The roads I just feel congested. I'm not even driving and I feel congested.
It's that lack of familiarity, and it's just it's not the lack of confidence, but because you don't know where you're going and there's traffic and impatient drivers, it just adds to it. It makes it a bit stressful. But I mean, look, today it's Sunday. Even though it still feels fairly busy, it's more relaxed than during the week, so it's not too bad.
It's just busy. Like it's too. Like I think as I get older, I just appreciate when times are not busy anymore, and it's just like I can't thrive in a busy environment anymore. It's not for me. I feel like I understand why people become
Hermits?
like hermits.
Yeah.
And just want to go live like on like some property by themselves and not talk to me. The older I get, the more I feel that.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think that's normal though. You don't want to put up with BS from people.
Yeah, I just can't be bothered with it anymore. And the traffic and everyone rushing and being so busy all the time. I'm just done with it.
Well, fair enough. So it's going to take us about 2 hours to get home from here. Oh dear. So what have you got for this week in your warehouse? What's going on?
Well, I'm going to focus on doing the bundles this week, because last week I took a lot of single photos by trying to just stay on top of my listings, and I did pretty good last week. I don't know how many listings off the top of my head I did right now, but I did manage to hit most of them, I think, so most days. So I don't know, this week I might not do the quantity of listings, but I think I want to try focusing on the bundles this week. But the more I think about it, the more I think the weeks when I'm with you, I should focus on the bundles, because I do have longer time and longer days in the warehouse, and I don't have to lose all that time with commuting, and I'm trying to fit many more things into my week on the weeks where I've got Maisie. So I don't know, I think maybe I only kind of thought of that last week, thinking
speed camera 200 meters, speed limit 70.
That it was only last week that I was really thinking, okay, this probably works if I focus on the single books when I'm with her, and they're prepping the bundles for the week that I'm with you, and then the bundles are there ready to go and photograph. So I've just got to get out of that habit, because I do have that habit of leaning towards just taking the photos of the individual books, because I prefer it. It's easier, it's faster, it's quicker.
50 meters, speed limit 70.
So that works in quite well with the whole plan of having 2 management plans, one for the week with me and one for the week with Maisie in Canberra. So that sounds like a really sensible, smart idea. The good thing is that you're thinking more and more about where can I get the best bang for buck out of the hours I put into work and workflows, and what makes sense to do what when.
Yeah, and that's only been like something that I've thought of in the last maybe 4 to 6 weeks, and it's something that's been on my mind, but I still haven't got that set plan. And I think it's been on my mind more and more, like I need to have 2 different week schedules, and the more I think about it, the more the ideas are coming to me. And it's like only last week did I start to sit there and think, okay, the bundles are more time consuming, I'm not getting them done this week, I'm rushed, I'm driving in and out, and I'm feeling under pressure with my time, so I'm quickly trying to get through these individual listings so I've got something when I get back home to get listed. And if I was trying to do the bundles, I would only get a small chunk of them done into comparison of the individuals. However, it might play off, because the individuals I might list 60 items and there might be more of those lower end, but with the weeks with you, even if I'm getting less, and maybe it's okay to have different amounts each week as well, which I haven't really considered much before. I've always just trying to, in my head, I've had, okay, try and do 420 a week or 60 listings a day. But maybe the weeks with you, maybe, I don't know, maybe there isn't even a number for a while until I kind of work it out. Maybe it's like, okay, just try and photograph and list as many bundles as you can this week, and then next week fill the store with singles. But then also, week on, week off, I've got singles going in, bundles going in. I don't know if I so much love that idea either.
Well, why is that a problem?
Well, I just feel like it's good to have a mix of items going into the store of individual books and bundles. Not everyone wants to buy bundles. There's still a lot of buyers that are looking for the lower end, I guess, bread and butter books that I consistently, regularly put into my store. And if they're not going in for a week and it's just, I don't know, that maybe that's just something in my head that I've got to get out of my head, that it doesn't really matter. There's still hundreds and hundreds and thousands of books in the store already that fit the other criteria.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to matter. I mean, there's only a small percentage of your books that sell essentially straight away, and it's for a few different reasons: right time, right place, or it's a sought after book and someone's been looking for that for ages. But I don't think it matters too much, because if you're doing so for us it would matter more, because if we're swapping between, say, CDs one week and then DVDs the next week. But for you, because everything's going through in the book category, I don't think it's such a hindrance for you. I think that's actually quite a smart way of doing it. And that might work better. Maybe you've got some buyers that want those brand new fresh bundles and they'll just check back once a fortnight, and that might fit in with their buying habits. So I wouldn't think too much about that. I don't think that's detrimental. But I think
that's probably just me overthinking.
Well, I mean, look, try it, see if it works. If it works, great. If it's detrimental for some reason, yeah, change it up. But I don't straight off the bat, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a problem at all to me.
But yeah, like during this last week, I have prepped, or even the last couple of weeks, I've prepped a lot of bundles that have been sitting there and not getting done. And so this week, I really want to focus on not just getting stuck into those individual books. It's time to knuckle down and get those bundles done.
Yeah.
And yeah, it will be interesting to see how I go, because I've never done a week on, week off. I'm going to sneeze. I can just feel it.
Don't you just love that feeling?
Just love that feeling, like it's coming. Is it going to come? I've never really done a week where I've just listed singles and then a week where it's been bundles. It's always either been a mixture or it's just whatever I'm, I guess, working on at the time. But I've never tried to have a regular system where I go, well, what if we tried singles one week and bundles one week? But that's based on time, and the bundles are more time consuming, and so it makes sense to do them on the week that I'm staying with you, because I do have more time when I don't lose that time commuting, or I'm not, when I'm with Maisie, there's things in the afternoon that I do with her as well. I might take her to work at McDonald's, or I might take her to sport, or pick her up from here, or take her to friends' houses, pick her up. So there's a lot more run around as well, not just the commute in and out. There's a lot more afternoon activities that are going on when she's with me, which again, when I'm with you, it's just you and me. We don't have anything like that except a dinner date. Yeah. It's like, that's it. It's two very, very different lives basically. But yeah, I'm kind of excited to see how I like that. And also for me, having something that I know this week going into that I'm going to focus on. It's like, Mel, your focus this week is on the bundles. So knowing that in advance is like, what's the decision fatigue? I don't have that decision fatigue, this feeling at the moment, like, what am I going to do this week? Like, the focus this week is to focus on photographing a lot of those bundles. And this week last week I've done a lot of cleanup, and I've cleaned a couple of problem areas that were time consuming as well. And I did those on a couple of days where I haven't been feeling the best. And so it was actually, I felt like when I'm doing that cleaning, like I can just kind of go at a pace, and it's actually quite relaxing. So when I'm not feeling the best, like, even though it was a big job, it was still kind of suited my mood, I guess, at the time.
You're able to get into the zone, that mindset, and because you've already made the decision as to what you're doing, you don't have to think about it. You can just start doing.
Yeah.
And then you can get into a bit of an internal rhythm and work through it.
And I think also sometimes when you feel sick and you feel unwell and you don't feel like working, you kind of feel like you're not being very productive, because your energy levels are lower automatically because you're not feeling the best, and you don't feel like being there. So you just have this like, I don't feel like. Whereas was really good those last couple of days when I really actually didn't feel like doing it, but I stuck to like a couple of longer tasks that when I finished them, I was able to do them at that pace, which was okay for me, but I still felt productive when I finished them, and I was able to look around and go, I felt like crap, but I still managed to get a couple of big tasks that have been bothering me done, and so that made me feel good. But that made me feel good still.
So you're doing bundle photography this week, and then you've already made up those bundles. So have you got a plan in mind where, okay, next week you're not doing bundles, therefore you need to get photos of singular books, but the week after you've got to make bundles up again? Have you already pre-planned for that, or?
Well, I've kind of been thinking about it, like, so the weeks with you, it's focusing on perhaps photographing the bundles and not doing the processing part of them. The weeks when I'm with Maisie, doing those, like prepping some of the bundles and photographing the single books, but I've got more time. I've got that little bit of extra time to organise a shelf or clean a shelf and try and fit that in. I don't have the time to actually photograph what I've done, but I've got the time to actually do it and get it ready for the next week with you.
Yep.
So this week, the focus will be on doing the bundles, but I'm not actually, obviously there's only so many hours in the day that I want to be photographing, because like once you do it for 2 or 3 hours a day, your body gets sore, and it's not, you don't want to be doing it for 6 hours a day. Just
Sure.
Because you're focusing on the bundles, it doesn't mean like all my time I want to just do on that bundles. It means focusing my regular photography time on the bundles rather than the singles. But I'm still not 100% sure where my other chunks of time, I don't know if I want to be making more bundles while I'm trying to get onto top of these yet. I don't know.
I suppose what I'm getting at is this: if you're doing bundle photography this week, then the following week you're doing single photography, and then toward the end of next week, because you're coming in the following week to do bundles again, would you be better off spending the last day of next week making up more bundles in preparation for photography the following week, or do you just go in there and do it again?
Yeah, I guess it depends how many bundles I get through this week. But last week I did do quite a lot of sessions where I prepped bundles. You know, I prepped all those couple of cookbooks, the Indian ones and the Italian ones and the Asian ones, and they're all on a table near that sorting bench. Plus I still got a whole lot of small romance and Mills and Burns and historical fiction that are taking up a couple of those table spaces. They can't stay there permanently. They have to be gone. So those tables are the priority, I guess, this week.
So when you do the bundle photography, are you going to do it, I'm going to photograph at least X amount of bundles, or is it just based on I'm going to time block and I'm going to do this task for this amount of time?
I think what I'm going to do it is I'm going to time block the photography for the day, and whatever I get photographed, that's what will be listed that night. And
that's a big ask, isn't it?
No, I don't think so. That's kind of what I do anyway with the singles. Generally, whatever I photograph, I'm getting listed that night.
Yeah.
So I don't think that that's too much of a problem to ask. But I don't think I'll be getting 60 bundles done in a day like I would normally get 60 individual books.
Yeah, that's a lot. When you think about the photography, the time it takes and the energy it takes, it's more energy, more time to take photos of bundles. To combine that with then listing them, and it's more labour intensive to list them.
Yeah.
It just seems like too much when you've got everything else you've got to do.
I think all I can do is try it and see how I go with that. And if it's too much, it's too much. But also, I'm not sure how many I'll get photographed in a day. And I think it's not an easy task to work out the exact rhythm that I wanted. It seems like it should be a task where you just sit down with a pen and paper and go, this week I'm going to do this and this week I'm going to do this. But it just doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't.
It just doesn't work like that. And sometimes I've got to experiment and try things to know if that will work for me on a long-term structure.
Yeah.
Because like I can easily say in my head, I'm going to list 30 bundles a day and this and that, but with everything else going on in the day, is that actually feasible? I haven't actually done a week of working to test that method. So until it's easy to say it and write it down and have a bit of a goal, and that's probably still a good thing to sit down and write it down and go, okay, today I'm going to photograph for 2 hours here and then 1 hour will be later, listing, whatever. Is that enough time? Like realistically, it's not great to even just judge that off one day. It's realistically look at it over the week and go, okay, we're trying to work 2 systems now of week on, week off. What actually works this week when you experimented with this and what didn't work? So there's a lot of trial and error, and I feel like I've been thinking about this for the last 4 weeks when I started to really notice that it's Thursdays that Thursdays are not my great day. I'm a bit moody and I'm just, Thursdays is not good for me, even Wednesdays is leading up to it. But yeah, Thursdays is definitely kind of like, and being aware of that as well now, 4 weeks, like I think doing the videos for this amount of time consistently now, I don't know how many videos it's been, it's got to be at least 65 or more videos in a row. The more you do that, the more I've got this data now. I've got not only the data for the videos and what people are liking, what they don't like, what they're watching, what they're not watching, but I've also got this data that I'm starting to put together into my own head about my own schedule and what's working and how to fit this all in and how to make it all run smoothly. And because I do feel like in the first couple of weeks of making the videos, I was like, I'm never going to be able to continue this. And now I feel like, I've got into the rhythm of this, I can continue this, but it's just working out still that best. Yeah, it's working out that best process, but it's surprising how long it takes. I feel like it should be easy. On pen and paper, it should be easy to write it down and go, that's your plan for the week.
Things change, and I think the trial and error is really important. And I think you got to consistently try new things or doing the same thing but in a slightly different way to see what works and what doesn't. I think there's a lot of strength in that, and I think there's a lot of strength in being disciplined enough to know what works and what doesn't. But there's no hard and fast rule to it, and I think we learned that last week with when you did the 547, was it 547 listings?
Yeah.
So for us to do 5,470 in one day was really arduous. It used to be easier for us, and I think it was a case of we were dealing with different stock, and we had a slightly different process. But we are not accustomed to doing that now because we've got so much other stuff going on with the pick and pack, and then you get to 11 o'clock and then that's when you're starting, and then you realise, all right, well, two guys are leaving at 4 and then it's just 2 people here. And I mean, I was still there at 9:30 that night getting it finished off. But the thing is, it's trial and error. We tried it, we have gone, okay, these parts work, these parts don't, and then we'll change it up and do it in a different way next time until you find what works and what doesn't.
And I think you realise as well what some of your bottlenecks are, because like you thought you'd be able to easily hit that goal, and when it comes down to just quickly scanning the CD to get it scan, you can do that, but it was all the other things for you that didn't have enough storage area and storage empty boxes to put those discs in for the SKU area. You didn't have enough space, and space is not just an issue for you, but space is a lot of an issue for a lot of resellers, isn't it? So you didn't have enough space, and then there's the quality control, and then you don't want to cut quality control either. So there's, you don't want to just cut things to be able to hit a number goal, do you? Like that's like people who just, I'm going to list 20 a day, and then just to hit the listing 20 a day, list shit. You don't want to do that either. Like you're better off to list 10 really good things than 20 shit things, just to be able to say I listed 20 a day. And so I think it's good for you to see it and go, okay, well, we've got the capability to list this much with the software, but that capability only works if all these other things are ticked off prior.
Yeah, and certainly it does get yourself thinking, but I think the important thing is you've got to be willing to have a go, change things up, try different things. And I think it's interesting. I mean, you see eBay doing that a little bit. So now they've made that improvement with the feedback and the automated feedback.
That's a good feature, isn't it?
Well, I think it is, because I think if you have done a good job, because you get a lot of buyers that don't leave feedback. For us, it was probably about 50-50. And, you know, we saw our feedback number growing. I'm like, all right, well, this is interesting. Our sales haven't dramatically increased. So I wonder why that is. And then I realised it's an update they've made and they're doing the automated feedback. Okay, that's a step in the right direction. And I think that's good for us to see, okay, these guys care, they're making improvements and changing things up. But I think we've got to take that responsibility home and say, right, this is my business, I'm happy with it. And if I'm happy with it, I don't make changes. If I'm not happy with it, or I want to make improvements, that's when you've got to look at changing and improving systems and workflows and all this sort of stuff. So I think it's not necessarily the conversation you want to have with yourself when you're tired and you're busy, you've got a lot already going on. But I think it's a necessary and important conversation. It might make your life easier, you know, it might make your business a lot more profitable, etc., etc. And I think it's having the guts to have those sort of real looks at your business and see where can improvements be made is really important.
And pushing yourself sometimes to do, like you did that challenge. That's an uncomfortable challenge to try and list that much. But pushing yourself makes you actually realise, oh, okay, it actually takes this much effort to get this much done. And so I remember the first day you did that challenge, and you were like, well, you felt like you guys had been going hard for hours at it. And then you looked at how many you had done, and you're like, oh my goodness,
It was half the goal.
You were only at half the goal. And then you realised that on the Thursday, if you wanted to hit that goal, because you were trying to do it on the Tuesday and Thursday,
Yeah.
that you were going to have to do something different and step that up, because you realised we haven't been slacking, we've been going hard, and we still only hit half the amount. So, and I think it was good for the guys to realise as well, wasn't it? Like how speedy they were having to go to try and hit such a goal that was possible but difficult.
It was detrimental. The guys were exhausted. I was exhausted.
Oh, you think the challenge was detrimental?
Well, I do, because I think it was too much.
Interesting.
So I know what we can achieve in the business and what we can't achieve. Well, actually, no, I'll rephrase that. I know what we can achieve. And I know what the systems and stuff we're implementing going forward. This sort of stuff's not going to be an issue. I failed that week because the goal for us was to do 10 times the amount of listings you did in the week, was for us to do that on the Tuesday and also on the Thursday. On the Tuesday, we did 2,500 listings. And then on the Thursday, we did the 5,470. Still, that's a lot of listings for 1 week. It's a big job. And it's not, I don't think it's beneficial. I think it's beneficial to push yourself once in a while, but not too consistently. And especially when you've got a team of people, I don't want to push my guys to the point where they're exhausted.
Well, it's good to do something like that as well, to work out what an actual achievable amount might be going forward that isn't actually unreasonable and isn't going to exhaust them, but is still like a push, but still achievable.
Yeah.
What do you reckon that would be a day after doing that?
I think we want to change it up a little bit. And I mean, what we've got now is we've got a bottleneck where we've got a whole bunch of stuff that's waiting for photos and waiting for photos to be uploaded. And that's a problem because the photographer's not there anymore. We've had another person that's left, and we've got a pretty small, tight-knit group at the minute. So I think what I'm interested in is, instead of focusing on the volume at the moment, focusing on the higher end stuff and doing less, but doing less listings, but taking the photos, uploading the photos all at the same time, and focusing on that higher end, more expensive stuff. And not even necessarily higher end, more expensive, but stuff that's going to sell at a quicker pace, because we've been doing not necessarily bread and butter. We're selling a lot of stuff that isn't available on the market, that might be foreign CDs, for example, and we're trying to stress test our listing software, see what it can deal with and what it can't. And that's been really good. But also we're selling stuff that has no sales history. We don't know what the market's like for some obscure Turkish CD, for example.
And are you testing that because you're able to obtain more of it? So is it like worth it? It doesn't have any sales history. You've got the inventory. Can you obtain more of it if it's successful?
For one of the businesses, the tagline or the motto is "We've got this,"
I like that.
meaning that what we're doing we've got under control, but also we've got this title in stock.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is build up essentially a library that has got 2 copies of each title in stock across the board. Now that's incredibly difficult to do. I mean, books alone, you're probably talking 40 million titles. CDs is astronomical. I know it's over 12 million titles. DVDs, I've got no idea how many it is, but it's a lot. And I mean, that doesn't cover the world over. That would cover English-speaking countries.
Yeah.
So what we're sort of looking at is, okay, is there a market for some of this foreign stuff here? We know, for example, Bollywood, Indian CDs, there's not a huge amount of people selling those in Australia, but there is a good market for them.
Yeah, I've heard there's a good market for Bollywood.
Yeah, very popular. So it's...
What was that tagline?
We've got this.
Yeah, that's how I kind of want to be with the cookbooks. Because I want to be, if somebody was looking for a cookbook, I want them to be able to find it in my store.
Yeah.
Because I've got the most, the biggest variety of cookbooks in my store. Since that's my main niche of specialty.
Would you have the biggest range of cookbooks in Australia on eBay, would you say?
Oh, I don't know that. There's a lot of people selling cookbooks. I don't know how many cookbooks I've got in my store, but it would be somewhere between the 3,000 and 4,000 mark. Okay. It's got to be half my store would be cookbooks. Okay. Which is a lot. That's a lot of cookbooks.
That is a lot of cookbooks.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a tentative plan for what you're doing next week. And then the week after that.
Sorry.
So I think it's always good to, like, if you get stuck in a rut, you might be in a positive rut. You might go, okay, this is a really comfortable place to be where, okay, the sales are steady, the amount of work I'm doing is consistent and steady. I've got X amount coming in, I'm able to photograph and list X amount each day. I'm happy with that. I'm able to leave work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and have an enjoyable rest of the day and all this sort of stuff. But unless you try different things, you're not going to get different results. You're just going to get the same results. So if you fall into that rut of, okay, well, I'm comfortable and I'm happy with this, that's fine. I mean, if you don't want anything bigger or better, if you don't want more sales, if you just want it to continue on along as per normal, no problem. But if you're looking to get, as I said, better results, more results, etc., etc., in our case, it's more sales, more money. Would be great if you could accomplish that with less work. So if that means selling higher end items, more sought after expensive items, then bread and butter. Okay, that makes perfect sense. But again, how do you know and how do you come to these conclusions unless you think about it and have those conversations with yourself in your own head? So I think it's certainly a good idea to revisit that stuff and think about it. And I think I'm getting inspired by you a fair bit at the minute because I see what you're accomplishing in your business, and I go, okay, well, we've got, obviously different type of business, similar enough but different scale, but I've also got multiple hands, and multiple hands make light work. So it's up to me to work out where's the strengths and the weaknesses in the business, where can we do a little bit of work to bolster our strength, or where do we need to do a lot of work to fix up a weakness, and the strategy behind that. So I think that's something I'm grappling with a little bit. And as I said, every time we have a staff change or staff movement, someone leaves or someone comes, it puts us out of whack for a couple of weeks. We've got to find our feet again. We've either got to essentially replace workflows or try and pick up the slack, or we've got to train someone up to do something. And so that can take someone, a few weeks to pick up some fairly straightforward stuff because they're not used to doing it, and they're not used to doing it the way we want it done. So it's just all this stuff. You just sort of got to work your way through. It's about rolling with the punches in the business. So for you, for example, the last significant rolling with the punches was when you had the flooding. Okay, well, this was unexpected. This is highly detrimental. This is going to cost me time and money, cause me stress. What am I doing about this? But the other thing is, you don't have time to overthink it. It's got to be done there and then.
Yeah.
So it's time critical.
I feel like they're having that little. It was only it wasn't really a big flood, was it? As rain came in, some areas were wet, but I definitely feel like that ended up a blessing in disguise.
There was a silver lining to it.
Yeah, it definitely made me think about those problem areas and made me realise I can't just have those piles on the floor like that in case something like that ever happened again, or for whatever reason it's not good to have the piles on the floor. So I have spent that time focusing on those piles, and there's still a few problem areas, but I feel like slowly it's getting through it. And I don't know, like if you're thinking about your business at the moment, like what is your biggest bottleneck, do you think, at the moment going with your business? It's
my business's biggest bottleneck is my mindset, because I know what we've got coming, and it's kind of there, but it's kind of out of reach at the same time. Mm-hmm. And that's a real big barrier for me, because I'm like, I know, I can visualize it, I can see it perfectly as to where we're going, how we're getting there, what we're doing, and how we're going to implement this stuff. But it's just from stuff out of our control. We're waiting for warehouses to get built. We're waiting for investors to come through and this sort of stuff. It makes it quite difficult for me in my day-to-day operations, because I go in there and we go, okay, we know we've got the pick and pack to do, so we get the pick and pack sorted. And then we know, okay, well, we need to utilise the time we've got and the energy we've got to work on areas of this business, not only to keep it running as per normal, to keep that baseline, but to also make those incremental increases. I'm really, really happy with the team of people there. I don't think I could be happier. They're brilliant, and they really, they deserve more than a pat on the back, because they really have been doing a great job. We've had recently, multiple changes in there, and they've all really rolled with it. And I think that's been a real strength. The bottleneck, one of them is the photography, and it revolves around uploading the photos. There's a lengthy time delay there. We understand the process, we understand, the software tools we're using, how it all comes about, what we're doing, how we're doing it, all this sort of stuff. That is something we're making some improvements on. Again, it's a little bit out of reach at the moment.
You had the photographer, and now you don't. But that photographer was only taking the photos. He wasn't uploading as well. Mm-hmm. Is it like would it be best to have another staff member who is dedicated to simply uploading the photos?
We're working on a solution that automates the photo taking process and also uploading the photos.
Okay.
Expensive, time consuming, difficult, going to take a fair bit of doing to get it to that point. And it's a hefty investment.
Yeah.
Once it's done, brilliant. But between where we're at now and getting to that point, quite difficult. So we're working, in the interim, we're working on another way of getting photos uploaded faster. And that will change the workflow a little bit. But currently what we've got is we've got a backlog of items that are sitting, they're active listings. They've either got a placeholder image or they've got the eBay catalog image with mixed results. And so we've got this backlog of listings that need the photos uploaded, and that's something we're working on at the minute. Now, at the moment, it's 2 people that are on faster than the normal computers there, and they're able to go lightning fast. They'll open 80 tabs at a time, 1 tab per listing, and that's how they'll upload the photos. And if you watch them work, they're really, really fast at it. They're so fast, it's very easy for me to get lost in what they're doing in their process. So I think having additional people there, or having additional people there to free up time for those two, so they can focus a bit more on that until they've had enough of it, they need to go on to another task, would be really beneficial. So I think that's probably the biggest bottleneck we've got at the moment. But in general, if you look at the business and what we're actually doing, you could quite easily justify having 20 full-time staff in there working on that day in, day out. And we've got myself and 3 other people at the moment.
Yeah.
So, and it's a blessing. There are 3 people are all full-time, and I think that's been a problem for us. It's been the people that have come in and that haven't been full-time employees, that's been problematic.
Yeah, all the full-timers have been there solidly, haven't they?
Yeah, touch wood.
It's the touch wood. It's the casuals that come and go.
Yeah. So
all the part-time.
Yeah, so the permanent part-timers, and I mean, I think there's a few different reasons for that, and I wouldn't describe that as a bottleneck, because I think that's just a problem that any business has got. You know, finding good people that want to come in and do the work, that the work interests them enough, that they enjoy doing it. And I really do like how the guys I've got there at the minute care about their jobs, they care about what we're doing, and they like it. You know, at the same time, they're not fools. They're not going to come in, you know, on their time off and work all over the place. A couple of them, you know, do like getting paid overtime, and they'll come in obviously and get reimbursed for it fairly. But I don't see that as the bottleneck. But I think freeing up staff so certain people can specialise in certain areas, and the only way I see being able to do that is to have more people on board. So yeah, that's a very roundabout, long-winded way of answering where's the bottleneck, and I'd say it's probably a bit more complex than just it's this problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's this problem because of these reasons.
Yeah.
Where's the biggest bottleneck in your business at the moment? Keeping in mind, I'm talking about in the moment, not previously.
In the moment, again, I don't know if it's a bottleneck as such, but obviously the thing that probably slows me down is the photography, because there's stuff waiting to go, and I don't have 8 hours a day to take photos. Some days I don't even have 2 or 3 hours, you know. Sometimes I've got an hour tops. That's all I can do for photos. So I guess the biggest task that's waiting is photos. But then, do I call it a bottleneck? Or I don't know if it's a bottleneck, because I mean, I'm not looking to grow the store hugely. Like, that's not a goal. Like, yes, I'd like to hit $1,000 a day, but I still think that I can hit that on my own. I've done that multiple times before, and I don't think that's a goal that's unreasonable for just me. It's a matter of putting in those better items to get the average sale price up, or the average order price up, to be able to hit that a little bit more. So I don't know if the photography is so much a bottleneck, but it's probably the biggest task that I have there waiting for me, I think.
I mean, even if you were to bring in someone that did a couple of hours a day of photos, I mean, that sort of solves one problem, but it creates some others, because, okay, you've got someone else taking photos, and you've got these photos at your disposal, but it takes a fair bit of time and energy for you to find someone, train them up again in the process that you need them to do, and the way, and all this sort of stuff. Like, for example, the way we do photos, my guys couldn't come in and straight away fit into the way you do things. So that's one issue, and it's a money suck at the start until you start to see the rewards from that additional pair of hands. But the other problem you've got is you're working to capacity, and you're spread thin across multiple roles. You know, you've got YouTube, you've got the family, you've got me, you've got eBay, and that makes it hard. If you just specialise in the one area, sure, that would make a big difference. But the other issue you've got is you've got all the photos taken, you've got those at your disposal, but then, you know, yeah, you've got that additional time while someone's taking photos to be listing, but then you've got all the pick and pack and all the additional, it ramps up everything in the business. and you may not have the energy levels to cope with that.
Yes.
And it's if you're going to bring in someone that does photos, that's one expense. If you then go, all right, well, now I need someone to pick and pack, that's another expense. That's all good and well to say that, but unless you've got A, that money in the bank, and B, you've got that buffer between when you start, you've got all this additional money going out, and when you can reap the rewards of that, and you see all the additional money returning and then some,
Yeah.
Which
can be slow.
Absolutely. It's not automatic.
I think a lot of people throw it into the comments all the time. Why don't you hire? Why don't you hire? Why don't you hire? And it's like always like, when I'm paying for everything as on my one wage, all my living expenses, all my business expenses, everything, like there's not a huge amount left there's not a huge amount left to be adding in staff members. And yes, they will pay off eventually, but in the meantime, that's hard.
Yeah, it is hard, and I think it's something that people, they look at it in black and white, and they don't see, okay, well, this is a smart operator, and she knows what she's doing. There must be some reasons, whether they're behind the scenes or in-depth reasons as to why she's doing this way and why she's not doing that. And again, it's the beauty of eBay. You've got the freedom to run it the way you see fit and the way you want to. There's a certain recipe to it. Like, you can't expect to get any sales if you don't list anything.
Sure.
So there is a recipe to it, of course. But that doesn't determine that, if you list 1,000 items a day, that you're automatically going to sell 1,000 items a day and so forth.
No. And, I really don't. I would like to get it up to that $1,000 a day. I don't really have that desire to just grow into this massive thing, if that makes sense, where it requires all that extra stuff and everything. It's not ever something that I've ever really wanted. I've always wanted to be more of this lifestyle business that just fits in with me and what I'm doing and where I am, and if I want to come in or if I don't want to come in, or if I want to go do this one day, or if I want to go hang out with the kids one day, or if I want to, it's always been that for me. So there's that, I just don't know if there's that level of scale up that yes, I want to do more than I am in terms of sales a little bit now, but it's also like I don't actually want to scale the whole business up to a whole different level also. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. I find that really hard to portray about. I know it sometimes comes across like maybe I don't clarify enough, or maybe it feels like I put out there that I want this really big operation, whereas it's not really that I want a really big operation. I kind of just want the operation running at a similar level to how it is, but with the dollars a little bit higher.
You can achieve the $1,000 a day in sales. You've proved that time and time again. The consistency comes into it.
Speed camera at 30 meters.
The consistency comes into it. The pre-planning to manage. Okay, I already know what I'm doing today. I already know what I'm doing tomorrow. As far as the eBay side of things go, sure, things can pop up. The spur of the moment stuff. You might get a knock on the door from me, and I say, I've got this thing going on. Do you want to come? And distractions and all that sort of stuff. So it can be hard and it can be up and down. But as I said, you've proved time and time again that you can do that you can pick and pack $1,000 worth of orders, that you can do photography and you can do listings and you can pump out an eBay video all in that one day. I suppose where it becomes an issue is your energy levels, the sustainability of that, where you don't burn yourself out. And I guess that's just stuff that you need to manage. But I think pre-planning, there's a saying, I heard someone say it the other day, it's like you plan not to fail, or you fail not to plan, or something.
Yeah, now you've just given me a mental block.
Yeah. If you fail to plan,
you plan to fail.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. We might have to Google that.
I know the one you're saying. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
I don't know if it's a military saying or a police saying. It was a police officer that I saw that pop up.
Yeah, or basically saying if you fail to plan things out, then the plan
that you plan to fail.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's interesting. I've heard artists say before that the better of a blueprint they get for something, a better design of something they're going to do, the better that is, the better it turns out. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, we've touched on that before as far as doing drawings of layouts of warehouses and this sort of stuff. And I think if you've got, and it doesn't have to be crazy detailed or anything like that. If you've got a good list of, okay, this day I'm going to time block, and for 1 hour I'm doing this task, and then you get into the zone, you do that task for an hour, you set a timer. When that time is up, so you're on your last bundle or you're halfway through a bundle, you finish that, you stop, you have the discipline to stop, and then you move on to the next task. And where you've got to get good is switching from one task to the other. So it might be similar types of tasks, or it might be a task where you have to have a forced break in between because, all right, one task is at this location, the next task is at this location. So you've got a bit of downtime in between. But it comes down to the planning and the time management. So I think there's a lot to be said for that as well.
There's so much really that goes into running a business that you never even expect to go into it before you, I think sometimes it's easy to jump into these little things as side hustles and just be like, oh yeah, and then they turn into these businesses, and there's just so much to constantly, no wonder our brains don't switch off at night. There's so much to think about to try and plan things out, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. There's a lot of pretty in-depth conversations that, unless you've got someone that's in small business, and it doesn't even matter if it's this type of business or not, if they're in small business, they're up at night thinking about stuff. They're unable to sleep at night sometimes because they've got stuff on their mind, and then trying to work through these problems. It's the same for every business. I think more so for smaller businesses, but maybe it's just tenfold for bigger businesses. I don't know, because our business is, it's not capped at a certain level, but currently we're at a certain level. So our issues and problems are surrounded around that sort of level.
Well, I think big businesses will, they've, I don't know, I don't know if they think of it in that same way, because one, they're not the owner. They're employees whose job is to fix the problems in the business. But they often, if it's big business, you're talking about teams of people. So they come into their boardroom meeting in the morning, everyone meet there at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
We've got this problem in the business. How can we all put our heads together to work out how to fix this solution? Bounce off each other. Go away and try things, implement things. I'm not sure if they're going away at night and staying up all night thinking about those things like we are.
I think it's depends on the level. Like if you're the CEO of a company and it's a massive company, and you've got a board of directors you have to answer to and all this sort of stuff, yeah, maybe you'll have stress for sure. Different levels. I think for us though, it's an issue where you need to have systems in place for turning off at night and being able to unwind, and being able to say, okay, I'm not currently at work, therefore I can mentally switch off from it, and yes, I know I've got some problems, I've got some stuff I need to deal with, but I'll leave that until I'm back in the office or back in that mindset and back at work tomorrow morning, for example. I used to struggle a lot with that, and it took me a fair bit to get around that, and it's never going to be 100%. You're never going to not worry about certain aspects of the business, but it's about that constant worrying where you can't switch off from it. That's where it becomes dangerous territory, where you can't unwind, you can't be in the moment. Like if you're at home with your family, you want to be at home with your family. You don't want to be there and snappy because you're still thinking about business problems that you should leave at business, at work.
I still wouldn't mind a coffee.
Do you want to stop for a coffee? It's
it's a terrible time for coffee.
Well, it's 5 o'clock.
But just feel like a hot drink or something, maybe a hot chocolate or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's not a bad idea, but if you have a coffee now, that's...
No, I don't think coffee. What's for dinner? What are you cooking me?
I know this good restaurant.
What's it called? McDonald's?
Home 98.
Thai. You want Thai tonight?
Sure, why not?
We had that last night.
We did. It was fantastic.
You want the same meal?
Maybe.
Hoi kan noodles.
Hokkien.
Hoi kan noodles.
It is good. I've never been able to pronounce that correctly. Hokkien.
Hoi kan. I think it's
Hoi kan.
Hoi kan noodles. They're pretty good, but aren't they?
Oh, fantastic. Yes, yes indeed.
You cold?
I'm not really cold. It's just I really like having that heat warmer, the seat
back?
warmer on the back, just on the lower temperature.
Especially when you sit for a long time, doesn't it? It just
Yeah.
kind of, it's almost, it's not a massage, but it's just
Therapeutic.
it's that heat on you, but it makes me a little bit sleepy. It's like, if I'm on the long trip, I have to say that the seat warmers sometimes make me feel a little bit like, sleepy.
Yeah, I'm already tired. It's certainly been a day.
Yeah. My nose is definitely still a bit stuffy. And now that you go to the gym every day, you're so strong you won't get sick.
Yeah, well, last thing I need is the man flu to keep me down.
No man flu.
Uh,
You know what I'm noticing, Mark? My listing impressions are right up, and I haven't been promoting any of my newer items. So I find that really interesting that the listing impressions are up. Yet there's about 800 of my items are not even promoted. My 800 newest items are not promoted, and my listing impressions are up. I advertised on their offsite.
yep.
And I set that up once when they had like a promotion, and I've
Yeah.
just never taken it
Yeah.
off because
Yeah, that
if I
was good.
it was run sometime as a promotion, and I think I set it up to be like $7 a day, except I don't think it's ever gone over $1 a day. I don't even think it's gone over like 50 cents a day.
It was really good when they were first
It was a
doing it.
strange promotion, and now they've swapped it, and you've got to pay by click. Whereas ours was like a set per day or something. Anyway, it's not, whatever the promotion was that they tried when it first came out is not available anymore. And it tells you that if you end the campaign, then that's it. So I've just sat on that same campaign for quite a long time, however long it's been running. It barely cost me anything, even though it's set to like $1 a day. It doesn't even cost me like $1 a week. But I actually get quite a lot of sales from that
Okay.
trending thing. Like, it comes up and tells you how many sales you've had, and for the return on advertising spend, that's actually one of the best deals I've had with them. But
Yeah.
you can't get it. Unfortunately for everyone else who hears me talking about this great deal, you can't get it anymore. But it was open to everyone at the time. But yeah.
Do you think they realised it was too good and that's why they took it away?
Yeah, they obviously were like, oh no, we're not going to make enough money from this. And I can't remember, but yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure that that's bringing up the views, but yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just views are up. It's just interesting for me to note, because I have been playing around with those promoted listings, and I did change the promoted listings right before I went into that time away mode. So then it was really hard to make a decision on, because it was obviously down, but that was also because I was in time away. So it was really hard to make that educated decision based on data, and I do think you need data, and that's why I haven't like chopped or changed it or anything, because I wanted to have that time period of data to see whether or not the changes that I've made, whether or not they were beneficial. And that was basically the change, was going from one solid campaign with everything flat rate and every new item that I list going into that campaign and being immediately promoted, to now having multiple promotions set up, and the new items need to be specifically added to a new campaign or an existing campaign manually, rather than just going in automatically onto that one campaign.
It's interesting where you talk about I need data, and for us it's Intel. We're intelligence based. We do things on intelligence basings. Like an example would be, okay, we've seen a spike in sales for this item. Have a look into it. Why is there a spike in this item? Oh, it's because of this event coming up, or it's potentially for this reason, this reason. Okay, so if we go out and source more of these items right now between this time frame and going forward to this event, we should be able to sell through them. And so we do a lot of stuff based around that. Now, for us, Intel-led or Intel-based, data is part of that. So you receive data in, and then you might examine it and look at what's going to work or what potentially could work and what may not. And I think it's a really good, strong basis for people making educated decisions in their business. So you refer to it as data, I refer to it as Intel, but we're doing the same thing on the same path. And I think that's really good to hear that from another seller, because I don't know, we've sort of spoken about that before, but we haven't really had a conversation where, I've said to you, right, we're doing this because of these reasons based on this research. It's like if you do a deep dive into something to fully understand it, all this sort of thing.
I think the research is so underrated. I mean, not the research, the data.
Yeah.
I think looking at the data, like there's so many resellers who are on eBay that just never even look at the data, and like sometimes you'll say, "Oh, go to your traffic page and look at this," and they'll be like, "Where's that?" They don't even know how to read the data that eBay's giving you in the seller hub, and it's so valuable what they actually can give you and what you can take from it if you really start to analyze it. And it's really good as well if you can sit patiently, and sometimes that's hard with eBay because sometimes you make a change and then you feel like your sales drop and you want to go, there's that feeling of no, that this didn't work, I want to rush back to what I was doing before.
Yeah.
Almost like your little security blanket.
Yeah.
But if you can hold it out so you've got that longer period, couple of weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks of data, then what you've got to put with, if you really sit down and spend a couple of hours analysing that, you will actually learn a lot about your store. I've even found that with my YouTube at the moment, by doing the daily videos. When I got to like 60 videos in 60 days, I really sat down with the numbers and I really sat down to have a look at what was happening, because obviously for the first month I was just so focused on the challenge is to get out a video every day. So it wasn't like, don't focus on all the data and stuff, just keep putting the videos out because you've got to get into that consistent habit. And then after 60 days, I'm like, okay, I've been really consistent now. Let's start having a look at this data and like, can I be a little bit more strategic and strategize with this and work out like what's working and what's not working, because 60 videos in 60 days is a lot of data to be able to analyze. Because normally that'd be 6 months worth of data. It takes 6 months to get that amount of data that I got in 60 days on the channel. And eBay is very much like that. If you like, this makes such a difference if you have 4 weeks of data compared to 1 week of data or 3 days of data. Like that basically is like maybe you have a few days of data, you get a little bit of stuff. But what if you have weeks of it? Then you've got something to really look at and make a really educated decision based around how you're going to go forward. I don't know what to say now. I'm tired.
Yeah, it's been a long day.
I feel like I'm ready to... I think it's because I put the seat warmer on.
What, do you want to turn it off?
No, it feels so good, but it does. Makes me sleepy.
Yeah. Well, it's been a long day, and I mean, you've got a stressful arrangement going on at the moment as passenger princess. So, but I think it, in all honesty, I think it's exciting times, and there's a lot of doom and gloom out there in the world at the minute, because you look around, there's a lot of depressing stuff going on, wars, political messes, all kinds of bits and pieces. You've got stuff that's happening the other side of the world that's impacting everyone here, fuel prices, the prices of groceries, all this sort of stuff. And you've got a lot of eBay sellers that are worried that the stuff they're selling, people don't need to live, and it's a luxury, and it's the first thing that's going to get cut. But at the same time, I'm like, is there a silver lining to this? Does it mean people are going to stop spending larger amounts of money? I'm not going to have that holiday. I'm not going to buy that expensive car. Instead, I'm going to be spending more time at home. I'm going to start reading more books. I'm going to buy books secondhand instead of buying books new. Okay, great. I can get some good deals on eBay. So I'm not too worried about the whole scenario yet. Like, it sucks. It's terrible. You know, we're already paying too much for essentially everything, and it does drive all prices up. But is there potential for us to, for that to be beneficial for us in our position? You know, we've already got so much inventory. We've already got so many listings. You know, will this create an uptick in sales like it did during COVID? People are locked down. They're bored. They still want to buy stuff. The sales have never been that good. You know, could we see another repeat of that? I mean, I think someone said somewhere that they were looking at, is this another way of doing a lockdown? By putting the fuel prices up so high, people just don't want to travel. You know, people want to work from home now because they don't want to drive into work.
Well, there was something on Facebook the other day saying that businesses should have mandatory options now for people who are able to work from home to save the resources.
Well,
so it will be the next month is going to be interesting to see with eBay and sales and just the way of the world at the moment. I think nobody really knows what to expect at the moment. Sales going to go down because everyone's cost of living has jumped dramatically very quickly, or are people going to be home? And at least we're in a good category with media for when people are kind of stuck at home, because they do order DVDs, they do order books, and they use that as their entertainment because they're not going out and doing other stuff. So I feel like the media category is quite a good one when people are kind of trying to save money and stuck at home. They'll still buy the media because you can still get it for cheap.
what do you think it would be a bad category in the current climate?
Ooh. Well, I would have thought that clothing would have been harder, but like the clothing sellers saying during COVID, like they exploded. Whereas I would have been like, well, who's buying nice dresses when you can't go anywhere out to dinner and wear them or something? But obviously I can see why comfy tracksuits and different certain level of pajamas and stuff like that, things like that would go up when you're at home. But so I don't know, maybe I thought the clothing sellers would suffer a little bit, but maybe not, because of talking to our friend the other day, he said no, they were great in COVID.
Okay.
Who would do? I guess it's the things maybe like the more expensive items, the higher end. Maybe what about the electrical stuff? Would that suffer more, or people at home and need those gadgets? I don't really know. Shoes.
So I was sort of thinking about it, and I thought I'm not sure about clothes. That could go either way. But I thought so. Two of the categories that eBay push a lot are pre-loved clothes and also automotive. I thought automotive could cop it because if people do start driving less, however, if they've got time at home to be working on something, if they're going to be working on it themselves instead of going to a mechanic to save a bit of money, would they then be buying a bit more of that sort of stuff? And then it got me thinking, well, okay, in COVID, a lot of DIY stuff was getting done. You're so bored, it's like, sure, we'll paint that room bright pink that we just painted blue. So a lot of that sort of stuff was going on. So, I don't know, maybe this could be really good for eBay sellers, this whole scenario where people are like, okay, we'll do a lot of little small purchases instead of doing the big purchases, new car, holiday, etc. We'll just ease off on that, but we want to have a quality of life, and we'll still buy a bit of stuff that we want to buy, but we might focus on second hand, and we might buy it off eBay, and it'll get delivered to us, and so it could pan out much better, but you just don't know. And as you said, the next month will be quite interesting to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because like even last week there was some comments like in some of the Facebook groups, what's happened to eBay, sales are down, and other people are like, look at the times we're in, like this is why it's down. So it's just going to be interesting to see whether or not, who knows, whether or not eBay's, if we're all going to have slow sales over the next month, or like, what about, we're coming up to April, what's April normally like for you?
Well, it picks up.
Yeah. It's not like one of the worst months of the year, is it?
I think February's bad.
Yeah.
And I think that's consistently been the worst month for us. You get a bit of our business works better when people are at home. So winter, you tend to do a bit better. Summer, the weather's nice, people are out and about, they're more active, they're not hibernating at home. So I think we'll see a bit of an uptick, but really it's those sort of 3 months prior to Christmas that you really see a massive surge. And it's like, all right, all the work we've been doing throughout the year, the amount of listings we're doing drops dramatically because we're so busy with the pick and pack.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, okay, some of these cycles are fairly predictable. You know, coming into Christmas, you're going to be busy with Christmas related stuff. Unless something's gone really wrong. But at the moment, in my mind, you're coming out of a quiet period, and normally it would pick up, but I think the problem is the quiet period is going to be extended because of fuel prices and other stuff that's going on.
Oh well.
It's the world we're living in.
We'll just wait and see, I guess.
Yeah.
I didn't have too bad of a week last week. Like, sales were okay. A few days were really quite high, and a couple of days were average. But we'll see what happens this week.
That's it. I mean, you can only sort of take it one day or 1 week at a time, can't you?
You really can't control it. The only thing you can control is how much you keep feeding it.
Well, that's right. You can control yourself, but you can't, internal, but you can't control external.
Yeah, you can control your output. You can control how many listings you do, but a lot of the rest of it is just out of your control.
The road's getting bumpy along
it's
here.
Bumpy, and is the coffee shop coming up here?
It is coming up very soon.
I'm thinking hot chocolate.
I'm thinking you
what
might be right.
What about tea? We could get a tea, like a peppermint tea.
Oh, I might stick with the hot chocolate, I think.
Hot chocolate for the win.
Oh, yes.
We done for today?
I think so. Now, can you muster a high five safely while I'm driving?
High five.
That was okay.
Okay, it was
All
done.
right.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Passenger princess.
Passenger princess. Passenger princess. I need a crown in this car.
Is it called a crown or a little princess hat?
That's called it. Princesses wear crowns.
Are they called crowns?
Or is that a queen?
I thought princesses wore a little...
Tiara.
Is that what it's called?
I need a tiara.
Do I get a crown?
Kings wear... Well, if you were the king, then I'd have to be the queen, not the princess.
Yeah, that's fair.
So then I definitely need a tiara.
Wouldn't that be a crown?
I mean a crown.
You probably do need a little shot of coffee in that hot chocolate, don't you? Jeez. Loving you is easy cause you're beautiful. Ah!
It's so beautiful, aren't I? This hair.